128. Dodi li va'ani lo haroe b'shoshanim. Words from Shir HaShirim, words from the songs of love. Dodi.
Dodi li va'ani lo haroe b'shoshanim.
Page 134. Hariu l'Adonai kol haaretz. Itchu v'ranenu v'zameru. Raise a shout to God, all the earth. Break into joyous songs, songs of praise.
L'Adonai kol haaretz, l'Adonai kol haaretz, l'Adonai kol haaretz. Nitzu, ranenu v'zameru, ranenu v'zameru, ranenu v'zameru. L'Adonai בכל זמרה, דברו לאדוני בחינות, בכל זמרה. L'Adonai kol haaretz, l'Adonai kol haaretz, l'Adonai kol haaretz. Nitzu, ranenu v'zameru, ranenu v'zameru, ranenu v'zameru. Dברו לאדוני בחינות, בכל זמרה, דברו לאדוני בחינות, בכל זמרה. Page 137, the last two lines in Hebrew. Adonai oz le'amo yitin,
Adonai Yvarech et Amos Basholom. May God grant strength to our people. May God grant our people the gift of peace.
Adonai Yos le'amo yiten Adonai yevarech et amo Adonai Yos le'amo yiten Adonai yevarech et amo
Page 138. We welcome the Sabbath bride with the words of Lechadod, page 138.
Lechadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela Lechadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לכבודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונחת כי היא מקום
גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לכבודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה, לכבודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה, יאללה לילה, 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 לכבודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה, לכבודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. We remain standing for a few more moments as we welcome Shabbat by lighting the candles. And Helen, why don't you come down and light the candles? They're trick candles, yes. Intentional.
You should switch it around more. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotov v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner Shabbat.
Amen. And so, just as we welcome Shabbat, let's turn to each other, welcome each other. You may wish to choose to do so in a COVID-safe manner, but Shabbat Shalom and welcome.
שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון.
Page 140.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות, עלה הסוב עלה דבר, עלה היגיון בחינות.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון.
כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך אתן. מה כתוב מעשיך אדוני, מאוד אמתומת לבותיך. איש בהר לא ידע, חסיד לא יבין את זאת.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. צדיק אתה אמר יפרח, כארץ בלבנון, בלבנון ישגה.
שתו בבית
ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולה תבוא. Page 142. The words of Shalom Aleichem, these angels. And the Jewish texts say that we too can become like unto the angels. So what can we strive to do? What can we strive to be? How can we bless Shabbat? Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Asharet, Aleichem Yon, Mimelech, Aleichem Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Borachem Leshalom, Aleichem Ashalom, Aleichem Yon, Mimelech, Aleichem Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Bachuni Leshalom, Aleichem Ashalom, Aleichem Yon, Mimelech, Aleichem Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Setchem Leshalom, Aleichem Ashalom, Aleichem Yon, Mimelech, Aleichem Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. So in just a moment we'll come to the Chatzi Kaddish and the Baruch Hu, the call to prayer. But this Shabbat is Shabbat Shuvah, the Shabbat between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And so it has unusual elements to it. One is that you'll find additional words within the Amidah, and the other is that you'll find the melodies are the melodies of Elul, the melodies of the high holidays. And so don't be surprised if you find suddenly the sounds of the high holidays surrounding you. Please rise, page 140 for the Chatzi Kaddish and the call to prayer.
יתקדש ויתקדש מרבה
Amen.
בעלמא דברך ירוצה וימליך מחוצה
וחייכם ביום מחול ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב
ואמרו
אמן. יהי שמי רבם מבורך לעולם ולעלמיה יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתעלה 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 שמי דקודשה
בריחו
לעילא ולעילא מכל ברכתה ושירתה
תושבחתה ונחמתה אמירם בעלמא
ואמרו
אמן.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. Please be seated and join with me on page 148 in the Hebrew. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim בחוכמה פותח שערים ובתבונה משנה עיתים ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המרי ורבים.
אהבת עולם,
אהבת עולם,
ישראל,
עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת.
תורה ומצוות,
תורה ומצוות,
ומשפטים,
אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשופנו, וקומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד.
כי הם חיינו,
הם חיינו,
הם ימינו,
ובהם נהיה יומם ולילה, נהיה יומם ולילה.
ואהבתך תשים,
אהבתך
לעולמים,
ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל.
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר חנוכי מצווך היום הלבביך, ושיננתם לפניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו הציצית הכנף בטיל תכלת. והיה לכם לציצית וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם,
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. If you'll join with me on page 157 at the bottom of the page. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say there is one God in heaven and on earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and your love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, תורה תהילות עושה ולך. מלכותך ראו פניך, אורכי הים מפני משה ומרים, תהי ענו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וקראנו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך הוא ברוך שמו. Amen. On page 160, grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our sovereign, to life renewed.
ושמות צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם. ושמות צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם.
Baruch atah Adonai, haporet sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim, blessed are you, eternal one, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Page 162. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים
Shabbat vayinavash Beini uben bnei Yisrael oti leolam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
So we rise on page 164 for the Amidah or the Tefillah. As you will notice, on page 166 there's an addition for Shabbat Shuvah, and so too on 168 and on 170. So there's a whole series of additions for Shabbat Shuvah. I invite you to note them as we pray to the melodies of the Yamim Noraim, of the high holidays, the days of awe. The Amidah.
Adonai שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו אלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק אלוהי יעקב אלוהי שרה אלוהי רבקה אלוהי רחל אלוהי לאה הגדול הגיבור והנורא עליון גומר חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים מלך חפץ בחיים וקודמנו בספר החיים למענך אלוהים חיים מלך עוזר ומשיח ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה
Amen.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיים מתים אתה רב להושיע משיב רוח מוריד הגשם מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל מחכה חיים בחסד לחיים מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ברוב אתה, לך חיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
אמן.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהרגוך סלע.
ברוך אתה אדוני, המלך הקדוש.
שלום רב הישראל עמך תשים לעולם.
שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם.
כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום.
כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום.
וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. בספר חיים ברכה בשלום בשלום. בספר חיים ברכה בשלום בשלום. ופרנסה טובה ניזכר וניכתב.
ופרנסה טובה ניזכר וניכתב.
לפניך אנחנו בכל עמך בית ישראל
לחיים טובים
ולשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
It truly is lovely to hear these beautiful melodies as we transition from the intimate, warm and loving God that we engage with throughout the year to the awesome God of the Yamim Noraim, the days of awe. And so we have this evening a guest speaker. Liora Harel is a candidate to be an MP in Caulfield. And it gives us great pleasure to have you join us and speak to us today. Come on down. I'm going to give you a mic. So so that we can hear you both here and online. Completely ignore it.
All good?
Don't walk away.
Thank you, Rabbi. I'd like to start by first acknowledging the traditional owners of the land and paying my respects to their eldest, past, present and emerging. I'd also like to start by saying what an honour it is to have met Helen Shardy tonight, former member for Caulfield. I remember with great fondness the work that Helen did for the community as I was growing up at school, Helen. And it's been lovely to chat to you tonight. Typically when I come and I speak at a congregation, really at any centre, or for any occasion, I like to try and make a connection to the congregation and the community. And tonight's run is really easy and it's really lovely. I attend Kehilat Kolenu, which is a congregation in Caulfield, and we share many of the same tunes, particularly Lecha Dodi. And so I think when you know a tune of Lecha Dodi and you're in a shul on a Friday night and it's your tune and you share it with everyone, then you feel like you're a sense of home, right? And so it's lovely to be here, and kol hakavod and shir koch to the musicians and to the vocalists. It's an absolutely lovely service. I've been invited to speak here tonight, and I really appreciate the invitation as the Labor candidate for Caulfield for the election coming in November. I don't propose to speak for too long, and I don't propose to be too political, because I don't really think that's the place at a Shabbat. But I thought I might briefly tell you a bit about myself and a bit about why I've decided to go on this journey. But again, I'll keep it brief for the sake of all of us that want to go home and have a lovely Shabbat meal. So I'm the product of some grandparents who fled Europe prior to the Second World War. My maternal grandparents fled Austria and came and made a life for themselves here in Australia. And my paternal grandparents fled the Soviet Union, or I'm not sure if it was then the Soviet Union, and they made Aliyah, and they went to Israel, and they were the chalutzim of the time, and they literally worked the land, and worked the farms and worked the fields, and they were Zionists, strong, active Zionists. My maternal family made a great life for itself in Australia, and really took advantage of everything that this country had to offer to immigrants at the time. And my mother, in a gap year after having been to Mount Scopus, went to Israel and, as happens, met my father and fell in love, and a couple of years later I was born. And I was born in Australia where they decided to build a family and to raise me. Now, their backgrounds were fairly different. I think it's fair to say their family backgrounds, but there were a number of issues and values that were common to them that I was raised on, and that I raised today my two children on as well. The importance of learning, of receiving a quality Jewish education, a commitment and a love of Jewish culture and Yiddishkeit, an unwavering support and commitment to Israel, and also a concept of, maybe not in a religious sense, but v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You treat others as you want to be treated. And these were values with which I was raised. I attended Mount Scopus College as a student from start to finish. I graduated and I ended up going to Melbourne University to practice a law degree there. And at that time, I became quite active in the Australasian Union of Jewish Students. And we're going back 21 years, and it was a really rough time for kids on campus. There was a lot of anti-Israel sentiment. It was bad, and under my leadership, I really stood for unequivocally standing up for Israel and unequivocally standing for the rights of Jewish students to feel safe and secure at their universities. And it's quite a tragedy that it seems that students today are in the same situation at a number of campuses around Australia. And this is part of the feedback that I'm getting from the student groups that I speak to, from the youth movements that I speak to, and it's certainly something that's quite concerning to me. I finished my time with Orges, finished my time at university. I went on to practice law at Arnold Bloch Leibler, a firm that I know is familiar to at least one of us in the audience, other than me. And I practiced there for many years, and I then transitioned into sort of in-house roles for publicly listed companies and other corporations. I worked at seek.com.au, which is a company of which I'm sure many of you are familiar. And I currently work for a tech company that deals in net zero data reporting. So I get asked very often, you know, why the transition to run for political office? It's something that's quite new to me. I joined the Labor Party metaphorically a couple of minutes before I submitted my nomination, so only a couple of months ago. I haven't grown up as part of the political system. I've always been engaged in politics, but I've never really been involved. And it's a question that, you know, I get asked very, very often, and the answer comes a bit mechanical after a while. But as part of this candidacy, I've started doing many talks at synagogues, such as your own, and it's taken me back to reading the Parsha of the week. And one of the first talks I gave was probably about 6 to 8 weeks ago, and it was Parasha Re'eh. And I talk about that parasha because there are a number of things that are addressed in that parasha that I think wonderfully speak to my motivations for running for office, for public office. And it's funny because I didn't expect to be guided in this answer so wonderfully, analogously, by a parasha. I won't get into too much detail about the parasha, but what we read about in Parasha Re'eh is about the Shemitah, about letting the land lay fallow. And I think that there are some wonderful lessons and learnings we can take from that parasha around our interdependence with the land, around the benefit of giving the land a rest, of living together with the land, not just profiting off the land. And what does the Shemitah do? It's a period in Israel once every 7 years where we let the land rest, where we give it time to reinvigorate, to revive itself. And in turn, what that does is helps us. And I think the parallels between that and the climate today, and what we're seeing today, are quite stark. And many people speak to me about their concerns about the environment. And it's an issue that is well known to many of you. And I think we could do a lot worse than drawing on the Shemitah for some inspiration about how we can be interdependent with the land as opposed to necessarily using the land only for our own immediate purposes. The second thing in Re'eh that really jumped out at me were the lessons around how to deal and how to treat with those within our communities who aren't doing as well as us, who come to us asking for help, who come to us seeking support. And my favourite instructions in that parasha relate to showing kindness and compassion to those amongst us who are less fortunate than us, with an exhortation to not close our hearts or our hands. And the direct pasuk says, "Lo te'ametz et levavcha ve'lo tikpotz et yadecha me'achicha." Don't close your heart and don't close your hand from your brother or from your sister who is in need. And I think in that, we really see the exhortation towards social justice, towards helping people who are less fortunate than we are, towards being open-hearted, towards being open-handed. And I think, again, as a society and as someone who's standing for elected office, we can draw inspiration from that. And I certainly see the role and the function of government primarily as trying to give those who are less fortunate than us more opportunity, to give them a hand, if it's in relation to employment, if it's in relation to childcare, if it's in relation to access to healthcare and facilities that they may not otherwise have had, if it's supporting people who may historically have been discriminated against because of their sexual orientation or because of their gender. It's on us as a society to open our hearts and our hands to those people, to ensure, as best as we can, that everyone gets to live the best lives that they can. So that, in a nutshell, is my inspiration and is my reason for running for office. I do have 2 young children who would have loved tonight's service and who would certainly have loved the treats that I believe are on offer at the end of the evening. They're 5 and 3. And again, I, as a parent, as a relatively new parent, inspired by them in order to try and make a difference, so that we can do something as a society that helps improve the lot of our kids, so that they can go on in the future and live the best lives that they can. Thank you very much for inviting me. Wish you all a wonderful fast of Yom Kippur, and thank you again.
Thank you, Lior. And you certainly do proudly for the Hebrew of Mount Scopus. We return to our prayer book and we rise on page 586 for the Aleinu and our concluding prayers.
עלינו לשבח אדון הכל, לתת גדולה ויוצא בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו מגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו הנות, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
We remain standing for a few moments as we turn to page 598, and we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. This Erev Shabbat, we think of the families of Albert Bentata, Eva Mandel, and Jamie Silver in the time of Shiva. In the period of Shloshim, we think of Elizabeth Galushkin, Estelle Redlick, Richard Rose, Keith Steinhardt, John Troy, Joy Waller, and all those dying so needlessly in the Ukraine. And we think of the yahrzeits which fall on this Shabbat: Ron Ahrens, Amelia Ahrens, Harry Barsky, Esther Charkon, Erna Curtis, Michael Eager, Annalise Falkenstein, Esther Fig, Jean Hill, Esther Kaufman, Alexander Kronberg, Baron Lebransky, Erika Newman, Stella Opas, Ellen Payoff, Yafa Pinchasova, Cyril Rabinov, Sarah Siegel, Charles Slonim, Anne Starr, Lillian Tarry, Greta Tobias, Joy Tregoning, Moshe Varon, and Hugo Wolf. If there are other names, please call them out as I look around the room. Zichronam livracha, may their memories truly be for a blessing, as we join together on page 598 in the words of Kaddish Yatom. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועל מה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן.
אמן.
יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה ברכו. לעילה ולעילה מנכ"ל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all of Israel and to all of humanity. And we say amen. Please be seated as we have a few announcements from our Board of Governance and Jackie. You can hold it or I can pin it to... There we go.
Need to fix my clothing. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you for a lovely service and Lior for addressing us. I'd like to start by saying that last night at the first formal meeting of the newly formed Board of Governance, it was unanimously agreed that we would start to incorporate an acknowledgement of country when we meet to discuss and when we meet to pray. And so this evening, even though Lior has made his acknowledgement, I acknowledge that the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples are the first peoples of Australia. The Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation are the traditional owners of the land on which our synagogue is located, for which they have never ceded sovereignty. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present. So, to announcements. Tomorrow at 9 a.m, you can join us here or online for Torah study with Rabbi Roebuck. Shacharit Shabbat at 10 a.m. We invite you to fill the synagogue on Kol Nidrei, Tuesday the 4th of October here at 7:30. And Yom Kippur service commences at 8:30 on the 5th of October for the Tot service and Shacharit at 10 a.m. Prayers will run through the day and your tickets will explain the times that the various services begin and end. And we will have some presentations between the services in the afternoon. We launched yesterday our Kol Nidrei appeal, so we would very much appreciate you joining us for services in the synagogue, but also thinking about giving generously to the shul over the next period. And you will receive, or should have received, an email. If you have any issues with that, please call the office. And then after Yom Kippur, we invite you to join us on the 7th of October for Gentle Yin and Meditation, and there is a Gesher service 10 a.m. on Saturday the 8th of October. Wish you well over the fast, and Shabbat Shalom. Oh, one other thing, please don't forget to return your Mazon bags filled with goodies.
Thank you. Please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kireshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'vraton inchilanu zikaron lemaaseh bereishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו גירשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. לחיים. Definitely vintage tomorrow. For some reason, in the time I've been away, they've gone back to boiled pasteurized wine. I don't know why. It's this tradition of boiled pasteurized and sweetened wine. The Frenchman in me cringes. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom, shana tova umetuka. May you have a year of wholeness and holiness, health and happiness. Gemar chatimat tova, and be inscribed in the book of life for a good year. לשנה טובה תיקתנו, לשנה טובה תיקתנו.